Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you for my first participation at Intersection. I am Anthony Régent. I'm experience strategist at onepoint and ecosystem platform designer. But firstly, today I would like to discuss with you about this idea of create new thinking and action paradigm to help to connect the mankind, life, and technology, and to design, of course, new business models with a positive footprint. To introduce my presentation, I would like to tell you about this painting by Gérard Fromanger, who is a French artist known for his involvement during the May 68 protest in France. So I know what you think. Protests are daily occurrence in France, but this one was really the biggest. More seriously, Gérard Fromanger reacted in an interview to one of the most famous slogans of that period. He explained, "I like to invert the formula of May 68, which says, soyons réalistes, réclamons l'impossible. Let's be realistic, let's ask for the impossible. Soyons impossibles, exigeons le réel. Let's be impossible, let's ask for the real. The real is more mysterious, stronger, more difficult to reach than fiction." This must challenge us as this special time when we feel that things will have to be different tomorrow. And but to do this, we must avoid fleeing into imaginary worlds and try to reconnect with the present. So let's quickly continue with a few words about the context. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the Anthropocene. This was theorized for the first time by the winner of the Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1995. Anthropocene means the age of mankind. And this would be a new era in the chronology of geology that began with Industrial Revolution in 1850. And the main problem with Anthropocene is that it generates the collapse of biodiversity. And there is 5 main factors clearly today identified for this: land use with agriculture, deforestation, direct exploitation of resources, climate change, pollution, invasive species. And we know today that even if the Paris Climate Agreement is respected with the maximum warning limit of +2 Celsius degree, climate change could move up the rankings and will aggravating other factors. The limits of growth, known as the Meadows Report, was published in 1972, and it already warned us about the consequences of our growth model. And as you can see, the forecast has been confirmed. So what are the great challenges of our time? So hello, designers. We have a big job for tomorrow. It's to design a new world. And Tony Fry talks about defuturation to describe those different futures we imagine that will never come true because they are too disconnected from reality. So to avoiding create futures that create defuturation, we need to adopt a reflective posture about the context we live in and our ways of thinking and doing. How can the world we have shaped in the existing world cause so much imbalance for the living, for our environment, and for, of course, ourselves? So one other challenge is to be aware of the impact and take our share of responsibility. And Victor Papanek insisted already in the 70s on the impact of design. The impact of design, the impact of our industrial activities, the impact of our business models, the impact of the technologies we have implemented, were these impacts made known? Was it by will, by omission, by mistake, by ignorance, or do we have to look for answers in what makes our relationship to the world? So, starting from Alain Findeli's quote, the purpose of design, the aim of design is to increase or at least preserve the ability of the world in all its dimensions or orders of reality. I propose you this definition for design better enterprises. It's to design better enterprises that contribute by their activity to develop or maintain the ability of the world by becoming positive forces of change. But one of our challenges is to reconnect with reality for this, to achieve this. Our definition of reality is conditioned by myths, beliefs, conceptual and/or cognitive biases, which inscribe and maintain us in a dualism between nature and culture. And we must understand that reality does not coincide with what it shows us or what we have retained of it. So I'm not saying that with this we are in the matrix, we are building our own matrix, our own virtual world through the pillars of a main Western culture that keeps us away from reality and therefore from life. But we have to ask, what are the design, which design, how we design? And so today, it's time to take a step back and break stereotypes to better reconnect with the real. It sounds like an irony to say in 2020, we need to be life-centric. Of course, we need it, but we are already full of life. We are already an ecosystem. We are not just composed of human cells. And last studies, the last decade, highlighted this, that this is completely obvious. So we need to go beyond Anthropocentrism, because without taking a step back about notions like Anthropocentrism, humanism, universalism, individualism, or human-centered design approaches, these thoughts are aggravating factors in the dualism between nature and culture, the practices they influence, like design. And as described by Freud, anthropocentric thought has already been undermined several times in history by the decentering effect of Copernican, Darwinist, and Freudian thoughts. For example, the Copernican thought explained that the Earth, the world of humans, was not the center of the universe and the cosmos, so it was in conflict with the anthropocentrism. Darwinian thought explained that man was in the world with other creatures on the same level. Freudian thought explained with the subconscious that man does not control his mind. So we can't keep in a myopic anthropocentrism, and we need to go further. So today, is system thinking and ontological design the next decentration needed to go against anthropocentrism? And I'm sharing with you the interaction between what is an organism with its environment. And I will highlight this with the description of the notion of enaction according to Varela. Enaction is the coupling interaction between action and sensation that an organism has with its environment. And the cognition exists in this coupling. The enaction exists in this coupling. So, with this coupling, the organism reacts to its environment and recomposes its cells. It's called autopoiesis. So it delivers a different view of the living being, la raison d'être in French. And Henri Laborie said, the only purpose of a living being is to be, that is to maintain its structure. The survival of a living being and its adaptability depends on the viability of a certain number of couplings between an organism and its environment, which is able to make emerge. We call this enact and maintain. So if we transpose this in the enterprise. Anthological design, described by Anne-Marie Willis like, we design our world while our world acts back on us and design us. Ontological design fosters the interaction of the organic ecosystems and our enterprise with its own environment. So there is two challenges. It's to bring out the couplings between ecosystem and environment, and to assess the footprint related to this inaction. So there is an opportunity with technology to catalyze this ecosystem and enterprise in action. And this is the platform. The platform is the ecosystem tool, which can help us with data and artificial intelligence to add, to empower the organization to have with a perceptive substitution, and to increase the affordance of the world, and to increase the view we have on the footprint we have. So the two challenges are, of course, bringing out this coupling between ecosystem and environment thanks to data and AI, and to evaluate the footprint and monitor its evolution. And so with this, we are empowered. We have the possibility to be empowered and to go towards new practice to think and act and design business models with positive footprints. And the question is, do maybe we need to start with the where rather than with the why, because if I start with the sentence of Bruno Latour, a territory is, first of all, the list of entities on which we depend, and physical and or digital territories constitute federating spaces. They support the creation or identification of commons through their culture and or ancestral origins at an ecosystem level. It is a coupling space between ecosystem stakeholders around the entities on which they depend. Is it not the reality of where that should inspire the why rather than the reverse? So to tackle this, at one point, we developed our own tool with a meta model for data ecosystem, declined on 5 general ecosystem: environmental ecosystem, social ecosystem, economical ecosystem, technological and organizational ecosystem, with different levels of granularity, which helps us to develop algorithms to reveal the footprints. So we have to use meta design of a design system of open assets, and it will change our practice because we believe that in order to deal with complexity, the work will no longer be to create classic design system with classical building blocks and classical architectural brief that define the solution to be implemented with solutions bricks, but the idea is to describe the requirements and constraints of the solution to be produced with the concepts and language of an open design ecosystem. The way in which our exchange produced and consume the design and technological assets of the ecosystem need to be defined in the meta design of the open design ecosystem. And we developed our own methodology too, that works between collective intelligence and human intelligence and artificial intelligence to identify new ecosystems to create centered on the same value model. And the idea is to create and to identify what will be the most positive ecosystem in terms of footprints to design the better platforms for the future. So I hope that you will have a lot of questions to deep inside this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Very nice for you to take us into this very comprehensive philosophical backdrop and connect it to our current urgency of climate and planetary concerns. So I'll take some questions, and it would be helpful if you unshare your screen. Sometimes that helps our audio. Marion has a question for you about how you handle with the footprint of your AI management tool. So how do you maybe like handle or connect the footprint to your AI management tool?
So we handle this with a deep data science and data engineering process. I'm not the best specialist to answer for this question because we are a big collective. We work in a big group in my company about this, and I'm not the data scientist specialist, but yes, it's about to start from the data and to realize and identify correlations, to connect this with the new kind of experience you can create, and to identify, yes, what could be the impact and what are the link we have to monitor.
Excellent. Andrea has a question about what components of the current business model design are most affected by this new approach?
Maybe the proposition value, because the proposition value is in the middle, you know, of the business model canvas, the classical business model canvas we use every day, and this is the question behind the proposition value that need to be rethinked.
Excellent.
Because we need to think beyond and not only consider the different interests of the organization, but the impact, the footprint, and the commons with different stakeholders in a deeper and deeper, larger ecosystems.
Beautiful. Chris has a question for you as well. He says, I totally subscribe to the theoretical concepts you've talked about here. My concern is that, in my experience, it is sometimes very hard to persuade leadership in enterprises to be motivated to design from these points of view. What are your thoughts on how to tackle changing the old paradigms of leadership?
I think that we are in a momentum. We are finishing a first hyper cycle of technology called digital. And today we are starting a new hyper cycle of technology called platform and ecosystems. So each time an hyper technological cycle starts, leaders are concerned about these different questions. So I think it's a good time. It's a good moment to explain all these new potentials. What I presented has to be considered like a tool. It's not magic. It's a new tool that will help us to empower, to go beyond in terms of design and understanding of the world where we live, and understanding the real and impact we have on this world.
And how does this connect to leadership? Like, do you think we are now able to use this tool or other platforms to shift the old, like the classical leadership type of thinking into something that is more mindful and considerate of these of our place in the larger ecosystem?
Yes, I think that it will guide completely the leadership of different projects and the leadership of the organization too. That's why I was talking about the new hyper cycle.
Okay, lovely. Bulent is asking for more reading material. I think that's a great invitation for you to maybe explore in our chat later. Maybe you can share some links to go further into certain areas of interest. And Natasha is now asking you about whether are you tackling the notion of commons within the enterprise?
In the enterprise?
Within the enterprise, yes.
Yes. The what is an ecosystem? It's an ecosystem has to be. We need to consider the inside of the ecosystem called organization and the upper ecosystem, which includes all different stakeholders and territories. So both are connected. We have to consider the both simultaneously.
Very good. Excellent. I think this is a really great way to wrap up this session. Anthony, thank you so much for sharing your insight and your reflections. I can clearly see that it has sparked quite some conversation, and there are many people who would like to follow up with you afterwards. So big thanks from Oslo.
Thank you from Paris.